Hi guys, I'm Summer.
And I'm Carolina.
And we're sleep consultants.
For 21 years combined and really great friends for like 2 months.
We have our own kids. I have 2 kids over 18.
And I have 2 kids under 18.
We have worked with over 1,000 families combined. That's a lot of kids.
That's so many kids. And we also run our own sleep consulting practices and we mentor other sleep consultants.
That's a lot of things that we do.
Yeah, but you know what? Our goal really is to bring peace and less stress into your homes.
And that's why we decided to do a podcast together. Call it For the Love of Sleep.
I just love that. So if you guys want some sleep tips, laugh, and know how we get through all these things, come on down and listen to our podcast.
Hey everyone, it's Summer and we are on episode, I believe it's 4, and I'm super excited that we're continuing this channel.
4 episodes. That's so exciting.
I know. That's just the beginning. We were just talking about actually how to pronounce Carolina.
My name?
I really cannot pronounce it. That's just should be the start beginning. I butcher it. And she's like, just rolls it off her tongue. So I'll let her announce her name because there's no way that I can do it justice.
It is Carolina Romaniuk.
Romaniuk I can get, but it's Caroline. Okay, you know what? Let me just put it this way. I have 4 Carolinas, Caroline clients right now, okay? And they all spell their names differently. So I'm with a client right now, and she said to me, I didn't know what you were calling me from the bed because I needed her to come feed the baby, and I was saying the wrong Caroline. I was saying Caroline, and it's Caroline. So she didn't understand to get up. I'm like, really? It's really close. Can you just get out of bed and feed the baby?
But she's the only person there.
I know. I'm calling your name. I thought, I don't know. I'm like, okay, whatever I call you, Mom, get up. I need you to nurse the baby.
Oh my God, that is so funny. No, when I was little, no one could pronounce my name. So, because in Russian, it's pronounced Carolina. So I grew up just, hey, it's Carolina. Oh, like south or north. And that's what I would always say.
North Carolina. See, and that I can understand. But yeah, it's the rolling, but I think it sounds really pretty, actually, the way you say it. So it's just, I've never been really good with pronunciation. So I butcher everything.
No, I like it. Language was always easy for me. Like super simple for me. And I actually thought that I was weird because like languages for me came so easy that I started to purposely like fail at some because a lot of like my friends, you know, like in elementary school, like they couldn't get it. And for me, it was just easy. And it was just, I don't know. But I think when I got older, I'm like, listen, my name is Carolina. Either you get it or you don't. It doesn't matter. That's what it is.
Carolina. Okay, I just have to roll. Anyways, your name will always be a topic of conversation. Mine is just Summer. It's just simple.
I like it because I was born in the summer. So that's, you know, we have a really nice connection.
There you go.
Even better.
Well, today we were just actually talking, you and I, before we started filming, some questions about newborns and like a lot of questions parents ask in regards to crying. Yep. Do we allow our baby to cry? What age do you start all of the process? And honestly, my take on it is that babies cry from the time they come out of the womb. I mean, that's the first thing you hear. You hope to hear that cry, because that means they're alive. So that's like the first thing I'm looking for when I gave birth.
When we had our second son, my husband was talking to me and I'm like, shh, did he cry? I need to hear this.
Yep. It's funny. Sophie didn't cry when she was born. She came out. She was clean. You know how they come out kind of gooey looking and they have to wipe them down? Mm-hmm. She didn't have any of that on her. She came out very clean. She came out quiet. And she just looked at me like, okay, I'm here. Now let's nurse. And I was like, okay. I mean, she was the boss from the moment she was born. It was like,
aww.
Yeah, she's still that way. So, it was one of those children. My other one, he screamed bloody murder, but not for 5 minutes after birth because he actually had some trauma. So, yeah, so crying really is a fact of life from the moment they're born. But the question we were talking about was around 8 weeks. Parents ask us, like, how long do you let a baby cry? So I'm the expert in the newborn section here. So
Yeah, you take over.
typically, typically, we want to make sure all their needs are met.
Yep.
So we don't want to just let the baby cry because we're exhausted. We actually need to make sure that their needs are met. So they're well fed, the diaper is changed. There's no one thing that parents neglect or not neglect, but kind of forget to check is like hair wrapping around fingers or
Oh,
wrapping
that's a
around
big one.
toes,
The toes.
because they'll grab your hair. And so make sure you do all those checks that they're not screaming for another reason. But once you have everything established, it might just be that they're tired and they need to be swaddled and put down. Now at 8 weeks, we still swaddle as long as they're not rolling. Most are not rolling. I've had one at 5 weeks continue to roll, and I had to take her out of the swaddle because her mom was like a gymnast and she must have got her mom's abs because this kid was so strong that the doctor and I agreed we could not swaddle her. She had to be allowed to roll. She just wouldn't stop.
That's pretty
In
cool.
most cases, they need to be swaddled. So
yeah, no, I completely agree with you. Obviously, this is your specialty, but the same thing. The main thing that I have noticed though is that there's so much information that's out on the web, and when you type in, how to sleep train or how to get my baby to sleep through the night, the last thing that most parents really look into is, well, how old is this for?
Right.
So because we're so sleep deprived, we don't really look at the actual details, like how much does my child have to weigh for them in order to sleep through the night? How much do they need to eat? How old should they be? Counting and also adjusted time, like adjusted age. That plays a big role. Also, how was the baby born into the world, right? Was there any trauma from mom or for baby during that time? So all this plays a big role when we're kind of like talking with clients. But the crying really, I mean, even for me, you think we've helped so many kids. You still think that we're like immune to it? No, we're not. Crying is literally, I remember my nephew actually Googled this and he was interested. He's like, I wonder what the worst sound in the world is. Guess what they said?
Baby crying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's the worst. Like you can hear like nails on a chalkboard and that would be more relaxing, so to speak, than hearing a child cry. Especially
I think that we think there's something wrong. Like in the back of our head, it's like, why are they continuing to cry? And it's like, is it colic? Is it the purple crying curve? Is it a dirty diaper? Like we run through all these scenarios so quickly and they're still crying and it just can drive us nuts. Now, if you're training, that's different. If you're training your baby, like you're sleep shaping and you're shaping their sleep, the crying amount, if we're talking about amount of crying, I would say would be between 5 to 15 minutes. You would do check-ins. Okay. And this one thing that we are so confused about in the society we live in and all the books you read is we've lost the follow your gut method.
Oh yeah.
We have now we just follow whatever the book we have, or we read too many books and they're all conflicting. So the parent tries multiple different ways and it's not consistent. So the baby's screaming because like, oh, well, yesterday you picked me up, but today you're deciding to leave me in there. Well, then why are you coming? We've lost our way in like really listening to our babies cry and understanding that, okay, you know what? They need like a little bit more, I would say probably a couple more minutes. And a lot of times I'll go in and sleep shape a baby or train a baby, not at 8 weeks, but older. And the parents are just like, do we go in? Do we go in? And I just kind of like, nope, let's pause. Does that cry sound like he's hurt? Look at the monitor. Is he okay? Like really follow your gut versus the numbers. The numbers can screw us over. And plus children are so darn smart.
Oh my God, I love it.
They figure out the number system way more faster than you would ever think. I
love how smart the kiddos are.
Yeah.
And but like one thing, like I love like what you just said, but I want to kind of like add to it in the fact that I hate the word like manipulation, and I hear it so often. I hear it so often from parents that fill out like a questionnaire where they want to like work together. Sorry, it's like super dark here and I'm trying to fix this one.
I had to like lessen my lighting. I'm like, it's way too bright.
No, it's like
I've got like crazy going on.
so dark here. And they say, you know, and like, oh, I read that, you know, my child can, you know, manipulate me and I'm just like,
No.
like take a step back, right? Kids don't have negative, you know, attributes or want anything like this. They don't hold grudges. They don't want to manipulate it, anything. They're just smart. And they're smart in the fact that we are, you know, humans are creatures of habit. So kids look for habits. They look for patterns. That's all that it is. And it starts at a really young age. So I like the terms that are so loosely used out on, you know, Dr. Google or like in mommy groups or, you know, it's just, it comes with such a negative feeling with it, especially when you become a first-time mom where, you know, I think it's like in the societies, we want everything to be perfect. Right. And that's why like we research a lot and we want a lot of information. And that's where we kind of, I feel like that's where we lose that self of intuition or our gut feeling, because then we start to not go from the gut, but we think with the head, and the head reads something else that an expert, and I'm doing like air quotes, you know, says for you to do. And there are a lot of quote unquote experts out there. And, you know,
there's a lot of people out there that have mindset to be an expert. But it's the thing is another factor is pick a person.
Exactly.
Pick a book and stick with the author, because that author is going to be consistent in every book they write, or whatever that method is. They're going to be consistent. If we're reading the Cry approach and then we go to Ferber approach, or we go to the Cry It Out Wise Bluth approach, or we go, it's just so complicated when it doesn't need to be. But you go with what your gut says. You really ultimately come back as like, my baby really can't handle crying. Now I get that a lot. I get this where I see this. I don't think I get it a lot, but I see it on forums from parents that say, let me say this right. My baby can't handle crying. They after 5 minutes they vomit, or they get so worked up that we can't calm them down. I get that a lot. Like I see that a lot actually. They get so worked up they can't calm down. Well, there is
we've let them
calm them down. You know, it's like parents don't understand how to, you know, the baby is so worked up. She's red-faced, right? She's got tears. One of the things is basically turn the light on. Okay, if the room was dark, you turn the light on and it's a shock factor. Like, oh, there's light. Okay. Instead of picking them up or shushing them, or put the baby shusher app on your phone when you go in. That works too. But a lot of times, babies need to calm down on their own before
we just need to give them time and space.
Before we rush in and they're at the peak of crying and they're like, mom's like, oh, they're hyperventilating. I'm like, send me a clip. I need to hear what's going on. Like, I have that a lot where I'm like, send me a video clip. I need to see what the tears are like. Because every cry we can kind of decipher. Like, okay, I'm hitting my legs on the bed and I'm pounding and I'm screaming because I'm mad. Or there's the pain cry, which I would go in for sure. If there was a pain cry, like what could be they're stuck next to a bar in the crib, or they're stuck in a corner, and it's different, or they're teething. You know, there's different reasons why the cry could be different. But most of the time it's just anger, because like, you're not coming in here and I want you right now. And we need to give them a pause. And just, I actually will sit in the room with them in a chair, and I'll just wait for them to calm down, and then I'll go in and put my hand on them and shush and like rub their forehead if they need it real lightly, and just no talking. Because talking, guess what? I hate the method of the talking. I know there's a couple of them out there and they're just like, okay, so have a script, like mommy loves you.
Oh yeah.
You just don't touch them. You just say the script. And I'm like, I can't, it's a happy sleeper. I can't do that. I've tried it, and I know some people can do it. I mean, every baby's different. Obviously, try it. If it works, it works. But I feel like it kind of if they were actually sleep crying, we're going to wake them up if we talk to them.
Yeah, but that tech, like the script, the mantra thing is, it's more for the mom or for the dad, just for reassurance that, you know, you feel like you're doing something to help your child. But your presence, your energy, your calming energy is also doing just as equivalent to it. It's kind of like when I have parents, when they go to me and let's say they have toddlers and they say, you know, how do you know what they feel? Because they can't really tell me everything right now, right? They can't express, they can't talk to me. And then I tell them, well, you know, animals, they can't talk, but they could feel, they have emotion. Babies can't talk, but they have other ways of expressing their emotions, right? You shouldn't just use the fact of, if you can't express verbally, that it doesn't exist. So there's other ways that you can, you know, understand in what your child needs. But when it just comes to sleep training, like, you know, for an example, for newborns, like under 4 months, we don't really call it that. We call it more like sleep shaping or building the foundation for sleep.
Right.
So, but I think like one of the questions we should address is, and we're going to get this often because we usually do, is, well, how long do I let my baby cry? Or, you know, how long do I wait until I go in? Right? Because then from there goes that question of, oh, I don't want to spoil them or have them, like that word that I was using, like the manipulate, which we hear so often. It's not our verbiage. It's literally what we hear with working with so many clients. And my name and your name, I know, is posted in a lot of mommy groups as well. And they ask, and it's just the same repetition of what we see. So I think maybe this video, what we're doing today, is strictly just for like the newborn aspect then.
Right. I think so too. I think that honestly, if you're looking for a number, then, you know, give your child a chance. A baby between the ages of 0 and 12 weeks is still learning how to eat properly, how to, you know, learning how their arms work. And, you know, one of the keys to making sure they're tired before they go down, that's actually a big problem. How many of us held our baby 24 hours a day and baby wear them? And we just, I did. I remember holding my son for hours because that's what he's a baby, right? But at 8 weeks, I realized he was bored. Like, he would cry with me holding him. And I was like, okay, I guess he doesn't want to be held anymore. Like, he would push me away, which is what he's doing at 19 right now. But, you know, it's because he needed to play. And so if we have that playtime before each nap time, babies are more tired out. And playtime mean on the floor, not being held. Having plenty of playtime before each of the naps tends to make them better sleepers. Now, if I was putting them down, let's say just a generic plan, tell the mom to follow her gut, put him down. If he continues to cry after 5 minutes or even 3 minutes, go in, check and make sure he's okay. Make sure the swaddle isn't up by his face. Make sure the room is cool. Make sure that I always have a fan or a humidifier or a air purifier on. You know, just make sure there's some kind of airflow. And you know, you're doing a check. Every time we go in, it's really, like you said before, it's for the parents. It's not necessarily for the baby. The baby's going to go to sleep. But we as parents are worrying something's wrong.
So it's just reassurance in a way.
It's reassurance. That's all we're doing. So these check-ins really are based on us as parents worrying. So go in. Don't ever get to I always tell clients have anxiety. If you can't get your heart rate down, the anxiety is going to be pushed onto your child. So try to lower your heart rate before you go in and calm down. Then go in, check on them. And that can be your own timer versus saying 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. It's more about the mom or the dad's anxiety and making sure they calm down before they go in, because we don't want to push that anxiety or worry or we were like this intense, baby's going to feel it. So, you know, we have a lot of anxiety in this world right now. So just follow your own personal, like that was one of the tricks I did when I was 8 years old. I would see a baby and I could put any baby to sleep from 8 on. Like I'd pick them up, they'd go right to sleep. And it was because I always told people I lowered my heart rate. I slowed it down and I breathe really slow. And
so that was one of the things that my pediatrician taught me also is he said, I think that was the only thing that he taught me that Um, but he told me that babies are empaths and they're energy beings. In general, humans are energy beings.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like what you just said. And I would tell a client and you know, I would give them like an example, like, have you ever walked into a room and you just like, the vibe is wrong, like something's off,
Mhm.
right? Or you met someone and you're like, oh my God, I feel like I've known you forever. Where have you, like, kind of like you and me.
Yeah.
Uh,
Right.
and then you would have other people that are like, ew, like you feel like they like suck the life out of you. They're
Mm.
called like vampire energy suckers or something like that, or energy vampires. I don't remember the term for it, but there's a term for it.
Right.
Um, so it's the same thing, right? So if you're going into the process of sleep or trying to teach your child to sleep, how you feel when you enter that room, that's the energy that you are, you know,
Yeah.
foreshadowing. So when you were 8, I mean, you like, it's easy, you know,
Yeah.
you're a kid yourself, so you're just putting another kid to sleep. The same
Yeah.
as like, when my son is with like other, like our friends, and they have like little small children, he like babysits them like while, you know, the adults are, you know, upstairs like eating or whatever it is. And it's just super simple, and the kids just, you know, follow through with each other. But it's a beautiful thing. And I agree with you obviously on everything that you have mentioned, especially like the timing and stuff. But there's one thing also I wanted to talk about too. So
Sure.
when kids are, let's say for an example, I also get it quite often. I can't put my baby down on a flat surface. The moment I put them down, they start screaming, and they're
Oh,
under 16 weeks. For me, that is usually a really big red flag, because in most cases, those types, like those babies that can't be put on a flat surface and they cry right away, it's either something with feeding, an allergy of milk, most likely, because they're not obviously not eating solids, or a big piece is reflux, where
yeah.
it's silent or GERD. That's a big indicator for me. So the reason, you know, for that is like when you place them down on a flat surface, kids can't, under 16 weeks, can't form patterns biologically. It's not possible. So if most parents will tell me, I think like I did something, you know, now they're so used to being in the arms. But I have found that usually like 99.9%, that's the case. So when I tell them, you know what, I want you to go back to your pediatrician, tell them that we spoke, tell them like this is kind of like what I'm looking at, and then they dive deeper, and then either they do a tweak on the mom's feeding if the mom is nursing, like with the nutritionist, or they swap the formula, and then that in most cases does help, and then
Yeah.
it solves a lot of the issues.
Well, and that's right. I mean, gosh, I think we get this all the time from clients actually. And one of the things is I always ask them on the phone is, does your baby have frequent hiccups? Do they arch their back? Do they scream while eating? Do they, like you can hear re-swallowing? So silent reflux is a factor because parents, oh, my baby doesn't ever spit up, but then it's like they're screaming. And it also, reflux also causes pain in their ears.
Yeah.
Because it's all the nose, the mouth, the neck, everything is all connected. So we get a lot of ear infections that you wouldn't think is an ear. You wouldn't think the baby laying flat would hurt them, but it does because their ear pressure.
Yeah.
So there's so many different factors. You want to make sure your baby's healthy before you do any kind of sleep shaping or foundation sleep. You want to make sure that they're really healthy and eating properly. They're playing properly. All those steps are in place, and then you can let them fuss and cry. That's really what should be happening.
Yeah, like check off everything, like a little
Check
checklist.
off everything, yeah. And it doesn't have to be, you can do that in 5 minutes. You can be like, okay, my baby doesn't do that. My baby doesn't do that.
Yeah.
So it's more habit related. So I feel like babies do gain. I'm a little bit different. You and I, we've talked about this in our views. But babies do love consistency in the very beginning. So if we're consistently eating every 2.5, 3 hours, they're going to expect that. If we're eating 3 hours and then one day you eat 5 hours, it's like they don't thrive as well if they're not being consistent. So first off, it starts with feedings. And looking at the mom's diet if she's nursing is one of the big factors. Now, I just had and you were just a part of my last class, and one of the studies that I had in the class was interesting because we don't want to discourage breastfeeding. So if we automatically say, oh, we're going to take you off of this food that you love, it's going to be like, well, my child, it's like you're going to resent your child because all of a sudden you don't have the foods you want and
Yeah.
he's not healthy. And so you resent him because like, oh, nursing is too hard. So we don't want to do that. The case study said most cases, babies get such a fraction of what you eat that it really shouldn't be affecting. Now, if you're having 7 espressos a day, I'm sorry, your child is probably getting that. And then if they're not sleeping properly and you had it after 3 o'clock, they're probably wired. And they did mention that. So you can have 3 cups of coffee, but having 7 espressos or 5 espressos was totally different. So you got to look at the facts of what you're doing and check the bars you're eating for how much caffeine are in those bars. Because, you know, as parents, we just grab a Snickers bar, right?
Yeah.
So
we just chomp on anything. And then when they get older, you just end up eating their leftovers.
Yeah. And that ends eventually too. Then they, you know, we don't want to eat anything after them at some point.
True. I haven't gotten there yet.
It's like mess everything up. It becomes disgusting.
I used to do that when I was younger. I would be like, if we went to a restaurant, I would be so bored. I would literally God bless the servers. I don't know how they dealt with it, because I would take like the pepper, the salt shakers, everything that was there. I would put it in like the cups and fill them to the rim, like the rim.
Man.
And then what I would do, I would open up the salt shakers and I wouldn't seal them.
Oh no. So next person comes around, you're so mean. Look at you. My mom and dad owned restaurants my whole life. They would have hated you.
No, I didn't do it all the time. I did it like once in a while when I was like bored. But that was like before, you know, phones and all that. Like I think about it now. Like what did we do like when we were younger?
We colored. We're going to go back to the crayon.
All right, the crayons.
We colored.
Yeah, that was fun.
I know.
And then when you were like in elementary school, did you ever like sit in the back or, you know, and have like, you know, like I think it's like the big box, like the 52 crayons?
Yes. I had
big ones. Did you ever sit and memorize them?
No, because you're good at languages. You're sitting there memorizing. I'm like sitting there going, where did red go? I'm like, that's not the color I want.
Because I remember I would pick up, like, let's say, like, this is, like, I don't have the crayons here, but, like, I would pick it up, and then it would have, in 3 languages, like, the different,
I remember it,
red, rouge, and then I think something else I would say. So I would sit there, and I would literally, like, my friend and I, and now she's an interior designer, and I can't, like, I just love color, but I can't like design anything for the life of me. We would sit there and we would memorize, like she would do half of it and I would do the other half. And then like we would test each other on the colors. It was really funny. But I remember like a lot of them.
No, I did not know. I did not do that. No, but you know, I had a lot of crayons and I colored a lot. But I love home design. So I was always redesigning my bedroom from a very young age. Yeah, so I had like that patterns and stuff. I can do anything. I can make a house into a shabby chic. Or my mom and dad actually they built a house and they said, okay, we don't have time for us to pick out carpet or coloring in the kitchen. So they sent my 16-year-old sister and I to go pick out the house and we designed it. Now you got to take in mind, this was 90s. So we got green carpet going. We got the dark green carpet, and then we did the mauve countertops. But hey, those 2 colors looked good together
at that time. Yeah, now everything's like gray and white.
Yeah, it's all, my house is gray and white. Is
it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, it's gray, white, and blue is everything right now. But I don't know if anybody else noticed that beautiful fancy flower do behind you also.
I know, I changed my background just now. Just a reflection from the light. Well, thank you guys so much for coming in and watching us. And we try to have some humor, but also to give some impart into basically what we teach. And hopefully you learned a little bit of something to look into if your child is having issues or you know of anyone who needs help. We're here for them.
Definitely reach out to us.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Bye.